Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zachary Nolan. Welcome back. Carter's not here today, as it's just a nice little video. I don't need any editing for it. It's very nice. But you should go check out some of Carter's content, because he's starting to get into the CFL videos, and those are great. But that is not what we are here to discuss today. We are here to discuss Pierre Luc-Dubois. A couple weeks back, we talked about Connor Hellebuyck's name being floated around in conversations about trades. Now, Connor Hellebuyck is not the only big fish that we have on the market. Another big fish that has been on the market for so goddamn long is Pierre Luc-Dubois. And honestly, as Jets fans, I feel like most of us are just at our wits' end of hearing these rumors. We just kind of want it to get done, because the fact that they refuse to go away shows that there is absolutely near zero chance that we are able to re-sign Pierre Luc-Dubois. And from Pierre Luc-Dubois' standpoint, I kind of understand it. If the team that you're on just tried to make, since he's been here for 3 years, they've had 2 chances in the playoffs. Both have been unsuccessful. They missed the playoffs the second year you were here. I understand his desire to be like, I don't know if this team is going to work out. Now, it is a little bit interesting because he's still an RFA due to the fact that he's got 1 year left on RFA status, and wherever we send him to would have to either sign him for 1 year, and then that would let him go to UFA status where he walks to Montreal, or they sign him long term, or we do even rarer sign and trade like what happened with Matthew Tkachuk, which I think is the last possibility. But let's not really focus on how that will transpire first. Let's first talk about possible trade locations, because how we can treat Pierre Luc-Dubois right now is the same way most people can treat a rental at the deadline. Let's assume right now that we are trading, wherever we're trading Pierre Luc-Dubois, it is going to be where you're signing him to a 1-year deal and trading him. That means the team that we're trading him for has to be all in right now, because if we're trading him to anywhere other than the Montreal Canadiens, they have to be at a complete all-in push to win the Stanley Cup the next year. And that's why when we went through the possibilities of teams that we saw too, we ruled a couple out right away. We were ruling out teams that were in the midst of a rebuild, except for one, which it will become very apparent later on. We ruled out teams that were bottom feeders. Obviously, usually those guys do not want to invest in players like that because they're trying to grow up all of their prospects at the same time, and that makes sense. Like teams like the Anaheim Ducks, like Chicago Blackhawks, who have no barren wasteland prospects that we want, so it doesn't matter. We also ruled out some teams that we didn't think could manage the budget. You'll notice the Toronto Maple Leafs are not on here. I couldn't see the budget being handled in any way, shape, or form. I didn't see the New Jersey Devils as a fit. However, I could be wrong on that one. But let's get to some that we did see as a fit. So, the most least likely option here is that the Boston Bruins take a swing at Pierre Luc-Dubois. Now, the only things that are going forward in Boston's favor is Boston has no prospects right now other than Fabian Lysell. Fabian Lysell is the only prospect I really care about. So right now the Boston Bruins are kind of at a point where they have to win now, and they have been a consistent playoff team. That is true, and this year was supposed to be the year, but it ended disastrously, losing in 7 games to the Florida Panthers. What could happen is either Patrice Bergeron and or Marchand leaves. David Krejci's probably done. They're near the end of the rope. Or if they are not near the end of the rope, what is going to happen is they will sign for team-friendly contracts, which gives the Bruins some cap space. What do I want in return if I'm sending Pierre Luc-Dubois to the Bruins? Well, the Bruins want a power forward that can be a first or second line centerman, that can play on the power play, that plays a gritty physical game. That is Pierre Luc-Dubois plays such a Boston-esque game. He is a really annoying person to play against. You hate to play against him. He is a perfect fit for the Bruins, honestly, in stylistic tendencies. Who do I want in return? You either want a first-round pick going back the other way because you know that the Boston Bruins don't really value first-round picks. They've been giving them away very frequently, very recently, very often. You want either high-value picks going back the other way, 2 seconds or a first. You either want Fabian Lysol, who I don't think you could get back the other way. I would take a run at Swayman, possibly, because if you're going on the consensus that you are moving on from Connor Hellebuyck, you will need a goaltender to fill that void, and Jeremy Swayman for Pierre Luc-Dubois isn't the best trade. However, it is at least getting something to salvage it, salvage the price. Or you could try to find guys in the top 6 on the second line or third line that accumulate that lost value of Pierre Luc-Dubois. For the record, I think Boston is the least likely of the 5 we picked, but you never know. Let's talk about another option, the Colorado Avalanche, which is kind of in the same boat as the Boston Bruins. The only difference is that Colorado has slightly better ability to develop prospects, and there are guys that are kind of on the fringes that you could take runs at, like guys like Alex Newhook. You could take a look at their first and second round picks in the following seasons. I don't think Bowen Byram is on the option, but he's not. Like, he's too bona fide, right? But you could take looks at stuff like that. Like, guys that are middle sixers on the Avalanche, but mainly you're taking prospects. Alex Newhook is the main piece I want going back the other way, because I don't think his value is too high to get. I think it's a reasonable price if you are the Colorado Avalanche and you're sitting here going, well, I don't want to give up a lot for a guy for 1 year, but if we want to make one more run back to the Cup, if we don't know if our captain can play next year, if we don't know how the rest of our core is going to be, and we're possibly losing Valtteri Nichushkin, I at least want somebody there. And you could possibly entice him to re-sign if he truly believes this core could win a Cup again. So there is that flexibility. Another one that we looked at is the New York Rangers. The New York Rangers are making all-in push after all-in push after all-in push. Now, the New York Rangers, if Pierre Luc-Dubois is going to the New York Rangers, who, let's keep in mind, the Jets have been bedfellows with for many occasions, including the Trouba trade, the Kevin Hayes trade, and most recently, the Andrew Copp trade. The New York Rangers seem to like what the Winnipeg Jets are selling more times than not, and they can usually, like, convince that deal to go down. It's most likely going to be later in the season, because the Rangers are not going to be as desperate for that last piece to complete their team, unless it's near the end of the season, near the trade deadline. And I understand that. However, at the same time, I think Pierre Luc-Dubois is part of what they would like. Again, a bruising power forward who has great hands, a very physical game. I think that he fits there well because they are very desperate to win a Cup. This is their window right now. And especially with last year not turning out the way they want it to, I think they're desperate to go on another deep run again. They made a point of going after 2 wingers on the trade deadline last year, and they got an aging Patrick Kane, who they might be able to re-sign on the cheap because he could Cup chase in New York. Vladimir Tarasenko is less likely to re-sign in New York due to the price. However, with that, you fill the void of you sign Dubois to a 1-year deal in Winnipeg, you trade him and then retain 50%, and then you pretty much just Cup chase with Dubois and hope that you can entice him to stay, or hope you win the Cup and it's all worth it. No matter what, whether he re-signs or not, if you win a Cup, it's worth it. Who's the main piece going back? It's either Capo Caco or Alexis Lafreniere. That's it, because say what you will about those 2 guys, they have not lived up to the immense potential that has been placed upon them since signing in New York. And Alexis Lafreniere, especially, has done next to nothing. He didn't get a single point this playoff stretch in a 7-game series against the Devils. He was honestly almost always on the bottom 6. I like Lafreniere. I don't think he's going to develop the same way in a Rangers system, in a Rangers win-now mode. I think there are other guys that are taking that load management instead of him that will block his development. On the Jets, it could be different, but like there are guys that we still need to move out to give him those opportunities, but at least you could see him become a better player from it. Also, there's always the option of just take a first-round pick for the Rangers, because they're not really needing them. They're in win-now mode. But, again, I'm just throwing out possibilities. Now come to the two that entice me the most. Is the most likely option, the Montreal Canadiens, which we'll talk to after, and the Carolina Hurricanes. The Carolina Hurricanes are a little bit of an odd suitor. However, I do see it. And the Carolina Hurricanes have a lot of UFAs coming up this year. They have a lot of people they need to re-sign, which means they're probably going to lose a lot of people to re-sign. However, the way that their structure is built, they have a lot of guys that can carry them to at least a second or third round appearance. They just need somebody to help them get over the hump. Now, Pierre Luc-Dubois can definitely help that. He's honestly, I think his style of play is very welcome in playoff hockey. However, you never know. You always need a supporting cast around him, and the Hurricanes have that. However, what could it cost the Hurricanes? It could cost them some interesting pieces. You got guys on the cusp like Seth Jarvis. Martin Necas' name is floating around. I don't know why. I would love Martin Necas. I think that Martin Necas, is more trustworthy than having Pierre Luc-Dubois, but I don't think that they dangle that piece for us. Obviously, a first-round pick is kind of in the mix there. There's plenty of prospects that intrigue me about the Carolina Hurricanes. It really depends on which way they're going. Like, which guys they think they can re-sign, which guys they don't think they can re-sign, and sending them over here. Because they have a lot of guys who are really on the younger side of this game that are at least roster players that I wouldn't hate having. Like, honestly. Like, and sometimes it's an accumulation of picks, an accumulation of prospects, and sometimes it's just the one guy that you want. And whether or not Carolina is active in this offseason, we'll have to see, and how well they're able to re-sign their prospects and their players. But I see a lot of opportunity to be bedfellows with the Carolina Hurricanes. And then, obviously, the big one, the Montreal Canadiens. The Montreal Canadiens are in a unique situation. Everyone knows that Pierre Luc-Dubois wants to be a Montreal Canadien. So there's two ways Montreal can go about this. They can either trade for him now, or they can wait for the clock to expire and trade for him next year. Most likely, they'll wait for the clock to expire and trade for him next year. However, if we get lucky, we could trade for him this year. Now, who do I want in exchange for Pierre Luc-Dubois? One name, Kirby Dach. However, I am a realist, and I know that Kirby Dach is a man that they don't want to move on from. I understand it. I don't, and I'm going to tell you right now, if I see Josh Anderson on the package the other way, I'll be like, oh man, it's Adam Lowry 3.0. Because I know what certain packages will have. And I'm interested in some of them. Harris is not a bad one. Honestly, Justin Barron intrigues me a lot. Like, I'm kind of interested in Justin Barron in a package going the other way, because I don't know how much Montreal values him. However, if I know Kevin Cheveldayoff, he's just going to bring back fucking Jonathan Kovacevic. He's just going to bring back Kovacevic and in the package. And that's going to drive me nuts. Honestly, what Montreal will probably end up doing is they'll probably give us Christian Dvorak, a middle round pick, and maybe one more prospect, but I'll take it at this rate. Like, we're not really we're unfortunately in Montreal. If you're trading with Montreal, unless they're really desperate to get the trade done this year, you don't have many gambling hands against the Canadiens, because you know that sooner or later he's going to be a Canadian. Now, there is a talking in the Canadian fan base that they don't want Pierre Luc-Dubois, and I find it hilarious. Like, you do. You do. I understand why you're scared about the headlines about Pierre Luc-Dubois. Like, he's ran himself out of 2 teams. He's been affected by the Winnipeg media, which is maybe. But the truth is that it's all because he wants to come home. And I think you don't have to worry about that, because I think sooner or later he will be a Montreal Canadian. I could be dead wrong, but, like, I don't think I am, and I think it's not a very well-kept secret that he wants to be a Montreal Canadian. But yeah, let me know down below. What are your guys's... what are the destinations you have for Pierre Luc-Dubois? And what are the returns you have for Pierre Luc-Dubois? And how do you think this all plays out? I think we trade him by draft day. I think that's... I just get this weird feeling that he's gone by draft. I think he's the first domino. I think he's patient zero for the changing of the guard. And I'm curious to see how it goes. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe on the channel. Really does mean a lot. Helps us out. Every little bit helps. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.